Welcome to Mad About Money. I'm Maddie Alexander-Grout, and this is the podcast where we talk to interesting people all about their interesting money stories. I'm joined by Emma Hine, who is a business strategist. That's probably the easiest intro I've ever had to do because it's very short. Emma, over to you. Tell me a bit about yourself.
Hi, Maddie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm simple, straight to the point person, me. So business strategies, and I help people to grow a business they love. And the reason I do that is because I grew a business that I didn't love, and it is not a nice business to have.
Oh, I am so with you on that. Like, I sold a business last year because it was a really good idea, and I think for the right person, it was a absolutely great business. But for me, it was horrible. Like, I launched a parenting app, thinking like, I've got a massive parenting community. Like, I've grown that to where it is, and it's a good business. And I thought, yeah, I'll do it. And then I realized I actually don't like parenting at all. I love my kids, but parenting for me, like, it's not something that I'm passionate about at all. And I'm not the best parent. That makes me sound bad. I am a good parent, but when you're just like, it's not what I want to focus my life on. I totally get that. When you're running a business you don't love, you don't. It doesn't make you get out of bed in the morning, does it? And I think when you're self-employed, you have to have that drive behind you, because otherwise you just don't do it.
Yeah, completely. I think it's passion that drives success, in my opinion. To get successful in business or in life for that matter, you've got to enjoy what you do, haven't you?
Absolutely. And for a lot of our audience, they are neurodivergent, and I think a lot of people follow kind of like the steps and the gurus and the people who are like making multi 6 figures, 7 figures, whatever, and they're like, that's what I have to do. But actually it's more about finding your groove, finding your vibe, and just going with what feels natural to you. That's what I would always say. So it's great to have you on. Really lovely. So Emma, I'm going to ask you the question that I ask every single person that comes on this podcast. What is your money story?
My money story. I am the person that grew and walked away from a 7-figure business. That is my money story. So let me just take you through the journey a little bit. So back in 2006, I was in corporate. I didn't dislike my job, but I didn't feel like I had enough control over my own life. So, I was always answering to somebody else. Can I have a day off? No. Can I take the kids to school today? No. So I just wanted a little bit more freedom to do what I wanted when I wanted. So I launched a business, and it was an e-commerce business because I thought, that's easy. I can do it from home. I chose a product that was small. It's not going to take up much space, and I can do it around my corporate job whilst I grow it. So that's what I did. It took a couple of years to get it to the point where, I could say goodbye to the corporate life. But then when I moved into the business, it grew quite quickly, and it went from, working from home into premises, then a bigger premises, and a bigger premises, 1 staff member, 5 staff members, 9 staff members, revenue, 100,000 a year, 500,000 a year, 1.2 million a year. It grew. The business grew.
What were you selling?
Greeting cards was what we started off selling. So birthday cards, Christmas cards, very small, very low ticket, mass volume. We did add gifting in there, which obviously made a difference because it was slightly more expensive. But it was mass volume, mass volume. Over time, this business became a chore. It became something that I was spending so much time doing, constantly grinding, constantly chasing sort of milestone after milestone. But I didn't know why I was doing that. When I started the business, it was never about money. It was never about making more money. It was about freedom. Yet what I was doing was making money with no freedom. Spending less time with the family, going on holiday with my laptop. Yes, I had all the fancy things that money can buy because, frankly, I didn't know what else to do with the money. But I was very unhappy. My mental health took a real downward spiral. But I just kept going. And the reason I kept going, and I didn't know this at the time, is because I was told as a child by a teacher that I would never make anything of myself. And that had
You're such
obviously,
a person this week that I've
yeah,
had that has
it's
told
crazy,
that.
isn't it?
What?
It's crazy. And I think that had installed into me that I need to make something of myself. And somehow I had connected that to having money. If I'd got money, therefore I was something, because people with money were considered successful people. And that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to be. But to me, it wasn't success. To me, it was completely the opposite. It hadn't given me what I wanted, my version of success, which was freedom, not money.
Mm.
So eventually, I reached the point of complete. I was done. I was completely. I cannot do this anymore. And it was the end of Christmas 2020, and I just said, "That's it. I can't do this anymore." And that's it. I stopped. I mean, it's not quite as drastic as that. It took a few months to sort and everything else, but I had to walk away, and I had to walk away for me, because I was so unhappy, because I was at the point of completely wanting off this planet, that I knew I had to do something. And that is when I think my money journey really started, because at that point I had to really unpick what had made me do what I had done, and how could I stop myself doing that again moving forward. And yeah, it's money
Yeah.
for me was never the
So,
thing that was
so
the driver.
did you sell the business, or did you just literally walk away, close it down?
I literally was done. There wasn't an ounce of do anything else left in me. So what I actually did, I could have sold it. I could have brought people in to do some work to strategically change it. I could have done that myself. I'm a
Mm.
strategist, but I was just totally done. For me, it needed to happen, and it needed to happen super quickly. So I
Yeah.
closed a big chunk of it down, and left a small piece, which we transferred from self-fulfillment. We had our own warehouse and all that sort of stuff, over to fulfilled by Amazon. So we transferred a
Mm.
chunk of the product, just sent it all off to Amazon, and said, you do it. And literally in that 3 months where that process was taking place, my working hours went from probably up to 90 hours a week down to about 10 hours a week maximum. The
Wow.
revenue obviously spiraled down very, very quickly, because we'd
Yeah.
closed down the bulk of our channel. But it's what I had no choice. I was at
That's
that
so
point of I can't
brave.
do any more.
Yeah. I just, it's absolutely, you have to do what's right for you. But what a brave decision when you're making that much money and you're just not happy. I think so many people can take something away from that, because there's not that many people that would walk away from something that was really successful just because it was not good for their mental health. And that is very admirable. Like, I mean, I am in awe, because I think it's absolutely incredible. So what happened next then? Did you, I mean, how did you repair your mental health first of all?
Yeah, I mean, I say yes. I think it's something that, I still will have to deal with. I still now have times where, where to me, I have a fear, although I'm really working hard on that, a fear to earn money again in case I get back into that state of mind, have that mindset
Mm.
comes back again. Is money bad? I know money's not bad. It was nothing to do with the money. It was the way that I allowed myself to earn the money. I have learned so much in terms of, if I've started again with that business, I would do it completely differently. I would do it completely differently. So it's yes, I have completely, I've worked
Interesting.
hard to repair my mental health, but it still lingers there in the background, especially the money piece of it. When I moved into this new business, that was the real battle for me. The real battle for me was not about knowing how I could help people, because I can help people not to make the mistakes I've made through lived
Mm.
experience and through the fact that I am a strategist. But it was a real fear that I was going to earn the money again, that money was going to come back in, and something inside me was going to click, and I was going to go back down that route. Because all the things and stuff that I bought, I only bought them because the money was there and I didn't know what else to do with it. I didn't look
Yeah.
after the money. The money literally came in and went straight back out again for things, because they were the things that, I thought made me
You felt like
successful.
you needed.
Hmm? Yeah. And it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
So
this is why I'm so passionate about, you spoke about this at the beginning, Maddie. I'm so passionate about people not having to do what other people do. You can do things your own way. And if you want the 7-figure business, amazing, but let's grow it in a way that it doesn't take over your life. Let's grow it in a way that enables you to still have your chosen lifestyle, whatever that looks like to you. And for some people, they love working 90 hours a week, and that's fine, as long as that's what you really want and you're not doing it because it's what you think you should be doing.
yeah. So this podcast is pissing me off. I'm not going to lie, not you, the actual software, because you keep freezing like pretty much every time you talk, and it's really difficult to know if you're talking or you're not talking, or even what you're talking about. So like Riverside, freaking sort it out. Driving me
Riverside is
nuts.
a weird piece of technology. I've done a few on Riverside, and experienced the same thing. It pauses, or you go all fuzzy, and you're not quite sure if you're there. But yeah,
I'm sure that it's going to sound absolutely fine to the listeners, but it's really bloody frustrating for the person who's asking the questions, because I'm like, ugh, I
don't know
missed
what he
all of
said.
that pretty much. But anyway, I mean, I think it's for people who are listening. I think there is really something that they need to take away from this. Build a business that you love. Don't build a business that drives you into the ground or like you actually really resent, because if you resent a business, you're not going to enjoy doing it. Having been there, my first business was really successful for 3 years. Then the pandemic basically put a nail in the coffin. I carried it on out of obligation. Like I felt like I had to carry on running it because I had investors, but it made me miserable. And it also got me into 45 grand's worth of debt. So, I come at it from exactly the same position as you. Um, you know, I think it's really nice actually to hear another strategist kind of talking about the fact that you have had that life experience. You do know because you have been there, you've done that. I think there are so many strategists who are just like, we're really amazing because we're really successful. And it's like, brilliant, fabulous. But what happens when you fail? Or if you have to give up, or if your mental health gets in the way? Because that's the real stuff that people want to know about, isn't it, really? Running a business is not all hearts and flowers and rainbows all the time. In fact, it's probably never that most of the time. And most of the time, you work for naff all money and you do it because you love it. I would much rather work in a business that I loved and didn't pay me very much than work in something that makes me miserable every day. I left corporate because it made me miserable every day. So I think there's definitely something to be said for that.
Yeah.
So how did you set up your new business?
When I suddenly had all this time on my hands, it was sort of a case of, what are you going to do? I knew going back into, the corporate world wasn't for me, because that was why I came
Mm,
out in the first place. So I knew for me it was never about going backwards. But I had no idea what I wanted to do. All that kept coming into my head over and over again is, I don't ever want people to have to feel like I felt, to feel like they can't say, it's okay to be not okay. It's okay to say, I've done this thing and it's not working for me. And I just wanted to make people happy. But I knew it had to be business
mm,
people, because that is where my expertise lay. So I just really spent a lot of time working that through in my head, what that would actually look like. And the thing I was very clear on at the beginning is that if I didn't enjoy it, I wasn't going to do it. So I spent quite a lot of time when I
yes.
first ventured into this like online world, experimenting and seeing how I enjoyed working with people, the type of people that I enjoyed working with, the type of communities that I liked being part of. And then eventually came to this point of, this is it. These are the people I want to help and work with. This is the impact I want to have on their lives. And these are the sort of people I want in my world. And then I created a business that gave me exactly that. And that is what I help my clients to do, exactly the same. So work out what
Mm,
success looks like to you, and then let's build a business model and a product suite and all of those things that
yeah,
actually give you what you want. Because I say passion drives consistency, and we all know what consistency does in
absolutely.
business. It grows a business. So being passionate about it is key. So this came from just me saying, I want people in business to be happy. That is literally where this business came from.
I love that. That's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about revenue, because I think a lot of people have this kind of set expectation that they have to trade their time for money, um, when really that's not where any of us want to be. We want to be creating more hours in our lives, not less. And I've actually recently had an influx of one-to-one clients to the point where I'm almost full now, and I just genuinely have no more capacity for anybody else. And I'm working really hard this year on generating that passive income, trying to do more kind of like the one-to-many kind of model. I did the one-to-many course with Lisa Johnson, and I have to say it was actually really game-changing for me. But the whole process of it, like, I mean, first of all, ADHD brain, I'm like, I want everything done tomorrow. Like, I have to do it right this second. I don't like the slow growth thing. I have to do it fast. Do it fast or don't do it at all in my book. But that's just me, and it's not everybody works like that. So what tips would you have for people who are kind of just starting out on their business journey that want to move away from that one to one to kind of lots of people type of approach?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. It's, to work in the one-to-many world, it is about numbers, isn't it? It is about, the more people you've got in your world, the more people that you are likely to be able to bring into a group
Yes,
thing.
exactly. I mean, I've been really lucky.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's it.
no, I haven't actually. No, and
You've
I'm going
worked
to take a
hard
step
for
back
it.
from that. I have, yeah. I'm not lucky. I didn't just get 100,000 social media followers fall into my lap. I had to work really bloody hard over a long time to get those people, and I
That's
had
it.
to grow my personal brand. And I've actually just taken on a new project like today over the weekend, where for my membership, like, I help people to grow and scale their visibility. And most of them are starting from very low numbers. So I thought, well, here's me with my 60,000 TikTok followers going, oh, yeah, you've got to do this. It's all well and good. So I've taken on a new client that I'm starting from scratch, and I'm going to make them an influencer. That is my new project. So it's quite exciting.
I love
But
that.
yes,
I
you
love
do
that.
need the numbers. You
Yeah,
need
you
the numbers.
absolutely
So,
do
but
need
but
the numbers. Yeah, yeah.
they're a
But I
very
think there's
exciting
ways that you can
client.
get those numbers without necessarily it having to feel like a slog. And I think that comes
Yes.
down to, finding the thing that works really well for you. I absolutely love being, with people, amongst people, connection and all of that sort of thing. So for me, building my audience has involved a lot of either me going to events or putting on my own events, because when you put on your own
Yeah.
events, nothing happens more than, exposure, people sharing your event, tagging you in. Suddenly your followers, go up and up and up, and the people that come into your world go up and up and up. So, it's finding the thing that works for you. For me, actual connection has been the
Yes.
best thing. But there's ways that you can do it yourself. Podcast, launch your own podcast, go on other people's podcasts. It's all things that are getting you exposure to the world. But with audience growth and with getting yourself to a point where you can sell one to many, it is a patience game. And that is really, really hard for people that I'm like you, Maddie. When I want to do something, I want to do it now. And I do that a lot. I get an idea, and that same night, the idea's gone public on Facebook. And then it's like, oh, right, I nearly need to do this now because I've told people I'm going to
And
do
then
it.
you kind of wonder why, yeah, then you kind of wonder why, like, oh, why haven't I sold that many spaces? Like, and I've learnt my lesson, and weirdly, it coincided with me starting my ADHD medication. It slowed my brain down, which actually slowed my business down and gave me the opportunity to think of what I wanted my strategy to look like. And I've I was selling my TikTok courses at like 49 quid and getting like 8 people on at a time, but nothing was really happening with it. Whereas I changed my strategy up, started using my TikTok workshops as my freebie. Now I'm getting like 400 people a week on my email list, and I'm growing quite quickly. I'm getting more one-to-one clients, and I'm planning some strategy days. And my membership, which I would normally have gone, I'm launching a membership here, just join. I did I did a waiting list. I did an email sequence. I opened it up. I decided to have my launch price. And within 2 weeks, I've got 75 members of my membership. And I'm like, crap, I did that because I planned it. Like, oh my God, Maddie. Like, it's just a penny drop moment, isn't it? That
Yeah.
actually sometimes doing things at breakneck speed and slowing down and actually looking at the stuff behind it really works.
Yeah, you have to follow a process. As difficult as it is sometimes to follow a process is there for a reason, and that's because it's tried, tested, and it does the thing. If you've got a huge audience following, you absolutely can throw something out there and expect to sell a reasonable amount just because you've got this huge following. Most people aren't in that position. Most people have to
No,
do
they
the
have to work
work to
for
get
it.
the people on. But you've got to remember, once you've built these people, they're there. And then you can do whatever you need to do. It's rinse and repeat. You're sort of creating it the first time you do it, but once you've got it, it's just like photocopying it, isn't it? Every time you do it, tweaking and changing as you go. But once you've created it, it's done. And then you're helping, 10, 20, 50, 100,000 people in one go rather than one for the same amount of work.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I think it visibility does play an absolutely huge part in your business strategy. And I think, with a lot of people think that visibility is just social media when it's really not. It is like literally every single kind of interaction that you have with a person is you getting visible. So I've got this thing where I want to be a guest expert on 100 different things this year, whether that's doing lives in people's groups, being on other people's podcasts, doing joint TikTok lives. And I'm on about 30 already for the year, so I've got a bit of a way to go. But I'm getting myself out there and it's making a lot of difference and it's having an impact on my sales. And I think once people start to get more visible, they will understand that visibility does lead to more cash. But visibility on its own doesn't work. You need to have the strategy behind the visibility.
Yeah, that's it.
So
And it's the same with a lot of things, isn't it? If you could have a great sales process, but if you haven't got the strategy behind your sales process, then it doesn't matter. As you say, you can be as visible as you like, but if you haven't got the strategy behind it, what are you going to do when you've got all of these people? What are you going to do with all these people that are in your world? You can have the best mindset in the world, but if you haven't got a strategy, it doesn't really matter. It's all of these
yeah,
things are all part of having a business strategy in its entirety. There is so much that goes into what you need to do for your business, but absolutely sitting right there at the middle of it is visibility. Because if people don't know who you are, people don't know who you really are, then they're never going to buy from you. So
exactly. And
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And it's the personal brand. I see people who are like, oh, I've grown this faceless TikTok account. And I'm like, oh, good for you. Like, no one's going to buy from it because it's faceless. Like, who's going to buy from somebody that they don't know? I wouldn't. It's that know, like, and trust, and it's not just the visibility; it's the personal brand. It's building that know, like, and trust with your audience, and getting them to come back to you time and time again, regardless of what you do. So, I mean, the good thing about when my business failed was that I had built a personal brand and I had personal TikTok stuff. So it was like, okay, my business has died, but I wasn't my business. I can do something else. And I quickly pivoted, did something else. And actually now I'm way more successful than I was with my last business, even before the pandemic. I don't track success. I'm not one of those people that tracks success with money. I track success on like how much impact I'm making with the work that I do. So for me, if I'm successful if I'm helping lots of people to achieve good things, and that's what's happening for me at the moment. And I'm making decent money. It's good money. I've just had my best ever month. But I'm not on seven figures. I might get there, I might not, but it's not important to me. What's important to me is the journey, my self-discovery, my learnings, my visibility, and the impact that I'm having on other people. And I think values really, really does play a massive part in how you grow your business. So again, another thing that you should be thinking about when you're growing a business: what are my values? What's important to me? So like my values are fun. If it's not fun, why bother? Because like otherwise I'd go back and work in corporate. Family always comes first, like literally always. That's for me, that's for my clients, the people I work with. um Honesty and integrity, being upfront about everything. With me, what you see is what you get. And the last one is visibility. Visibility for me, visibility for my clients, visibility for everything that I do. As long as I am running my business by those values, oh, affordable as well. That's the other one. But as long as I'm running my business by those values, and I'm sticking to those values, and people that I work with are sticking to those values, brilliant. And also boundaries as well. I mean, boundaries isn't a value, but boundaries is a thing. Like last night, I had my first meetup with my members. We ran over my hard and fast deadline of when I need to be done so I can eat my dinner. My husband maybe do the washing up. Which he wouldn't normally do, but I went over my deadline and I was cross with myself because I didn't stick to my boundaries. And I spoke to my membership this morning. I was like, right, I'm changing the time because that is my hard and fast deadline. I don't work past 9:30 in the evening because that's my time with my husband, my time watching TV, and my time to close my brain off. I didn't go to sleep till 2:30 last night because my brain was so wired because I'd not done the boundary thing. So
Yeah.
again, very important.
Yeah, boundaries are super important. And I
Mhm.
think, boundaries are something that people often don't stick to. They say that these
Mm.
are what I work, this is what I do. And that's one of the key things that starts to affect you in terms of your love for your business. If you allow
Yeah.
your business to start taking over in terms of, I don't tend to work in an evening full stop because
Mm.
that's what I've chosen to do. Doesn't mean I never will, because, I'm a business owner and you have to be flexible and everything else. But in general, I don't work in an evening. That is
Yeah. I think
my
that's a
boundary.
good, and I genuinely think that most people should stick to that. The reason I don't is because I take a big chunk of time out in the afternoon. So I've got an autoimmune disease and I can't get through the day without sleeping. So I work until 3 o'clock. I go and pick the kids up from school. Then I come home, I have a nap, I do the kids' tea, put them to bed, and then I get back to work again because I've taken that massive chunk out of the day. So I still work a full-time job, I still work a full day, but it's just a bit like it's how it works for me, and it's always
That's it.
done that way. But
And
you
I think
have
that's
to
the
do what works
important
for
thing,
you.
isn't it? It's finding that thing, that way that works for you. But whatever that is, sticking to it is so important, because the minute you stop doing that,
Absolutely.
you'll let something else slide, then you let something else slide. And then all of a sudden, your business is starting to have the foundations of becoming a monster, of becoming something that
Mm,
is taking over your life. So you have got to be, I always say, you've got to steer your own ship. You have got to be the
yeah.
person that is controlling what it is you do. And that doesn't mean that you are being unhelpful, unfair, or whatever with with your clients and your people. People respect what you tell them. People come into your
Yeah.
world because you're very clear. This is me, this is how I work. I will give
Mm,
you everything and more, but these are my hours. And I might speak to you beyond those hours.
absolutely.
I'm not saying you'll never hear from me after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not saying that at all. But I won't be hosting meetings, I won't be doing lives, I won't be doing trainings and things in an evening generally. And it is as you say, it's just finding what works for you. I've got clients who work a
Yeah.
bit in the morning and then an evening, because that fits in with their lifestyle. It's doing what works for you, isn't it? And I think that's key, isn't it, to building the business that you enjoy.
Yeah, always. So Emma, you've got an event coming up, haven't you?
I have, yes. Excited. Yeah, the growth
Tell us
event.
about it.
Yeah, it happens a couple of times a year. This was one of my I'm going to do this moments. I'm going to put this out on social media and book a venue, and I'm just going to do this. And I have no idea how moments. And it's the best one of those moments I've ever had. I'm going to say that right now.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's 60 business owners come together. It's a day of we have speakers, amazing speakers who talk to us about various aspects of growth, be it personal growth, be it business growth. We have plenty of networking time because I love connection and bringing people together. We have amazing food. We have fun. We have Prosecco at the end of the evening, or no Secco, if you prefer the alcohol free. It just really is an amazing day where people learn stuff. They get really inspired by the speakers. The speakers will share their stories. They will share tips and advice, actionable things that people can actually do and take away to help them to grow. But also the connections. People have forged new friendships, new collaborations, all sorts of things, at my event. And I love that. That to me is what that event is about. It is very much about giving people a safe space to be together. And this time we have, yet again, some amazing speakers. And I am so excited, so excited.
Oh, amazing. So how do people find out more about your event, and how do people follow you?
All my products and services, everything that I'm doing will always be on my website, which is emmahine.co.uk. I share a lot of my life on stories over on Instagram. So Instagram is a great place to come and follow me too. I am Emma Hine.
Amazing. That is been so lovely to chat to you, and really nice to kind of chat with somebody who's got the similar values to me, in terms of growth and strategy. So lovely to have you on. Thank you everybody for listening. If you are listening on Spotify or YouTube or anywhere that you can leave a review, please do leave us a review. It helps us to get this podcast out to more people. And if you haven't downloaded Mad About Money app yet, go and do that. It is an app that helps you if you are neurodivergent with all areas of money, from saving to debts to making more money to starting a business. I'm Maddie Alexander-Grout. You can find me on Instagram, Maddie Talks Money, TikTok, Mad About Money Official, and on LinkedIn, Maddie Alexander-Grout. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you guys next time.